What's up, you guys? It's Steve here, and do you believe that Congress is lying to us? Liar, liar, pants on fire about stimulus, Congress, everything going on. I'm going to get you caught up on the latest. I've got video footage and headlines for you. This is your breaking news stimulus check update and stimulus package update. Now, first off, you guys, the Inflation Reduction Act. It was a reconciliation bill at the disposal of Democrats. Do you believe it? Do you believe that it is actually going to be reducing inflation, that it was passed to help out people at this time as we're suffering from this record high inflation, and it's going to be helping the American people? Or do you believe the skeptics and what's coming out right now that this is not going to be helping with inflation at all? And they had a celebration celebrating the Inflation Reduction Act when the CPI data came out and said, nope, inflation's coming in hot and it's actually going to be here to stay. And what is coming for our economy? It's not looking good. And do you think that they simply passed it to provide more funding for their green initiative? Maybe things can be reallocated for politicians to do with however they'd like, and just to show the American people, hey, look, we did something. Let me know your thoughts, you guys. Are you more of a skeptic, or do you actually believe that this was an effort to help people? Well, what we're hearing, though, is that things are not looking good, and I've got video footage from the House and the Senate of Republicans warning, saying, hey, they're not looking good, you guys. Buckle your seatbelts. Take a look at these headlines coming out. Biden celebrates Inflation Reduction Act as food and rent prices, they continue to climb. Sean Hannity, the Inflation Reduction Act is just making inflation worse. And we're hearing they're cranking away to try to get things done right now because it is midterm elections, and it is no secret that it's during the election time when people's seats are up for grabs. That's when members of Congress, they start getting busy, you guys. Now, we will see, because we've already heard executive orders coming out from the president to support his party, passing $10,000 of wiping out of student loan debt. We'll see if it gets challenged, but that alone has increased the approval rating of the president and Democrats. We're also hearing about Hail Mary efforts, last-minute ditch efforts to pass child tax credits, bring back $200 Social Security increases, and all of these provisions of the past. And people are also wondering about fourth federal level stimulus checks to everybody in the nation, which I just reported to you yesterday. News came out the same day of the Inflation Reduction Act celebration that stimulus checks and child tax credits, they're the number one provisions to help fight poverty. And over the course of the last 2 years, they have been the hugest number one determining factor. And we will see if they do it for a third year here very soon. I'll keep you up to date. If you missed that video, check it out, you guys. But let's go ahead and dive into the video footage. First, we're going to take a look at the House. Then we're going to be taking a look at the Senate and what they have to say. And let me know if you agree or disagree. Now, also, the relief roadmap, the comprehensive list of every single stimulus check in the nation, all in one place. Literally over 100 different stimulus checks for states, cities, and counties. It is live at www.reliefroadmap.com. You can access it on your phone, your iPad, your laptop, and you can go ahead and find out websites, phone numbers, contact information, emails, all right there for you to see if there's anything available. And this is going to be continually updated. I've got new programs rolling in that are going to be added for those of you that are interested. And also, yes, there's a couple people that have mentioned they've got login issues. Want to let you guys know I'm going to be working with technical support. I think I've found ways to override it. And also, we found out some of the cases, it's just the phone that you got. So you might want to try it on a different phone or on a laptop or on a tablet, you guys. But with that being said, let's go ahead and dive right in. And also on the second channel, Steve Ram Finance, new video came out yesterday to help you out with reprogramming our brains for success in finances and growing wealth. I hope that you enjoy that video, specifically tailored to real estate investing. As you guys, many of you know, I am a real estate investor and entrepreneur, so I've got other businesses and other things that I've been doing, and I hope that that video helps for those of you that are interested. But with that being said, you guys, let's go ahead and dive right in. And before we do me a quick favor, smash the like button if you appreciate the content. Helps out the channel a ton. Thank you so much. Also, leave your comments, share this out. If you want to stay up to date, it's free. Why not? All you got to do is hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and any specific questions, shoot them to me in the DM on Instagram at SteveRam3. And with that being said, you guys, let's take a look at this video footage. First from the House, then the Senate. As Republicans are warning, we've been lied to, and pain is on the way for our economy. Let's go ahead and dive right in.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Alabama seek recognition? Without objection, gentleman's recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, President Biden's Inflation Reduction Act is bringing fire and rain to the White House and to the American people. Yesterday, Biden and a host of celebrities and politicians, highlighted by a James Taylor serenade, celebrated their Inflation Reduction Act, even as the economy cratered in real time. As the president spiked the football on his supposed accomplishment, the Dow tanked nearly 1,300 points, and the Consumer Price Index rose to 8.3%. President Biden and Speaker Pelosi have taken every opportunity to herald the deficit reduction, the so-called Inflation Reduction Act, and what it would provide. But the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office just updated the score to the new law, and it's worse than we thought. The reckless government spending on the Green New Deal policies in this bill will increase our deficit spending through 2026. This means the IRS will need to take an additional $60 billion from the middle-class Americans through increased audits to pay for this out-of-control spending. It shouldn't surprise anyone that we are already suffering the negative effects of this spending. But Democrats are basking in the sunshine of their political accomplishment despite the economic storm it brings for the American people. Remember, Democrats aren't just taking money out of your wallet, they are celebrating it.
Gentleman's time has expired.
Mr. President, yesterday afternoon, Democrats and the President gathered at the White House to celebrate their so-called Inflation Reduction Act, a bill that will do absolutely nothing to reduce inflation. And you don't have to take my word for it. The nonpartisan Penn-Wharton budget model said this about the bill's impact on inflation, and I quote, "The impact on inflation is statistically indistinguishable from zero." Statistically indistinguishable from zero. Or you could take the word of the Democrat chairman of the Senate Budget Committee who admitted on the Senate floor, right here, that the so-called Inflation Reduction Act would not reduce inflation. That's right. Mr. President, to describe yesterday's celebration at the White House as tone deaf would be putting it mildly. Democrats had a big party to celebrate a bill that may fulfill some of their big government fantasies, but will do nothing to fix the inflation crisis facing our country. Meanwhile, Americans were dealing with the release of August's inflation numbers, which were even higher than expected, and made it very clear that the soaring prices will continue for the foreseeable future. One of President Obama's top economic advisors noted yesterday, and I quote, "Today's CPI report confirms that the U.S. has a serious inflation problem. Core inflation is higher this month than for the quarter, higher this quarter than last quarter, higher this half of the year than the previous one, and higher last year than the previous one." End quote. That from one of President Obama's top economic advisors who made that statement yesterday. And yet, Democrats and the President somehow thought yesterday was a good day to celebrate fulfilling some of their big government fantasies. Well, I guess Americans struggling to afford their soaring grocery bills can be comforted by the fact that thanks to Democrats' legislation, their tax dollars will now be going to fund electric vehicle tax credits for wealthy Americans, not to mention road equity and identifying gaps in tree canopy coverage. Yes, provisions in the bill that they were celebrating yesterday. Meanwhile, the pain of inflation is permeating every aspect of our economy. During the month of August, I spent a lot of time traveling around South Dakota, and naturally, I spent a lot of time talking to farmers and ranchers. And one thing I heard over and over is the toll that inflation is taking on agriculture. Now, in addition to the normal challenges every American is facing from inflation, like high utility bills, high grocery prices, farmers and ranchers are facing massive increases in the price of essential inputs like fertilizer and fuel. Under the Biden administration, farm production expenses will reach a record high this year. Fertilizer prices are on track to increase by 84%. 84%. That is a staggering increase. Fuel prices are on track to increase 65%. And there's no end in sight. And farmers are facing a huge increase in interest costs thanks to a combination of higher interest rates and record high farm debt. Gross farm income is actually supposed to reach a record level this year, but those gains are expected to be entirely wiped out by inflation, and then some. Thanks to inflation, net farm income is expected to decrease at a time when gross farm income is expected to reach a record level, 14% higher year over year than last year. Net farm income, inflation adjusted, is actually going to go down because of the impact of inflation. Meanwhile, Democrats were at the White House celebrating a bill that will not only do nothing to address our inflation crisis, but will drive up energy bills for American farmers and American families.
For just $67, you can make as many videos as you want, and you never need to pick up a camera.
Mr. President, agriculture is the lifeblood of my state of South Dakota, and addressing the needs of farmers and ranchers is always one of my top priorities here in the Senate. And while it's unfortunately going to be difficult to stop Democrats from prolonging our inflation crisis as long as they're in charge in Washington, in the meantime, I'm doing everything I can to make life easier for our farmers and ranchers. One of my top priorities right now is preparing for the 2023 Farm Bill to make it as effective as possible in addressing the challenges that are facing our farmers and ranchers.
There you guys have it. Representative Moore and Senator John Thune both vocalizing their disapproval of the Inflation Reduction Act, letting us know this is only going to make things worse. Man, let me know your thoughts, you guys. Now, we will see, because we're hearing, like I shared with you in those previous videos, more is on the way. Democrats are saying, no, more spending is coming out. More needs to be done. We've heard Pramila Jayapal say a reconciliation bill is going to be on the way after the elections. So they're already making promises for afterward if things get passed. Now, also, you guys, I shared with you, Nancy Pelosi said that they're going to win the House, despite what we heard from Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, who said that he believes Republicans are going to take it. And we'll see, because if we have a split Congress, man, it might be pretty hard to get things done, you guys. So we will see. I will keep you up to date every step of the way. But there you have it. That is the latest. And as always, thank you so much for joining me. If you made it this far and you haven't already, don't forget to take a quick second, smash that like button. If you appreciate the content, helps out the channel a ton. Leave your comments, share this out. If you want to stay up to date, it's totally free. Why not? All you got to do is hit the subscribe button, turn on that notification bell. Any specific questions, shoot them to me in the DM on Instagram at SteveRam3. Consider joining the second channel, Steve Ram Finance, to learn about growing wealth and personal finance, and also the Relief Roadmap, www.reliefroadmap.com, the comprehensive list of every stimulus check in the nation on every level. It's live, it's available, and I hope it's a blessing to you guys. But with that being said, thank you so much for joining me. I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. God bless. This is Steve.